If we can get this 7 ball on the short rail, we are going to leave our opponent really tough. Half ball hit, spin. Right, so while practicing this shot, I thought that maybe there is another element of safety that might be available. And this safety here is a containment, like option number 1. It's a little tough and it requires a precise hit on the object ball. And you have to be aware of table speed. Very tough, but it's containment. And you have to have these options in your bag, because on a given day, in that given situation, you may not necessarily feel comfortable to play an attacking option, or maybe the option like 1 or 2. So let's look at option number 3, which could happen to you in an actual game. So I'm going to be overcutting the 7 slightly. I'm going to be catching the long rail here, short rail here, and with the thinness of the touch on the 7, and with the right hand spin, I'm going to be leaving my cue ball all the way down here and leaving my opponent tough. You have to concentrate on the hit on the 7. It has to be a fairly thin hit, but thin enough that it will make the 7 catch the long rail and the short rail and allow the spin to bring the cue ball all the way down here, leaving your opponent tough. Let us see if we can execute this shot. Thin hit on the 7, maybe about 2 tips, maybe about a full tip of right hand spin here. Let's see. And that's an absolutely perfect containment shot. Here you have left distance and you have left your opponent tough. Your opponent again will have to make a decision as to whether to play safety or, well, I do not see an attacking option here. So that's another option for you to consider, a containment shot. Very tough, not very repeatable, not highly recommended, but at least you have this knowledge in your arsenal. So that's option number 3. Let's look at the final safety option, to which I consider to be quite intelligent. Alright guys, so the final safety option here is to put the 7 ball behind the cluster here and bring the cue ball 1, 2 rails all the way down here, leaving your opponent completely snookered. So what you're playing here is both a cue ball safety and an object ball safety. Now, what's the advantage of putting the 7 ball behind the cluster? Of course, your opponent will have to kick at the 7, and that will force your opponent to have to open up the cluster. If they refuse to play a kick and they want to give you an automatic ball in hand, then they're going to be in the zone where you're going to be playing a 3 safe on your opponent to win the rack by obviously the 3-fall rule. So there are many advantages that can come about playing this shot here. You're giving your opponent an option to attack or to play a very difficult safety on you. So let's see how this shot is done. So to play this shot here, the focus has to be on trying to get the cue ball down here. That's the primary focus. And of course, you want to make sure that the 7 ends up behind the cluster. But if you overcut the shot, you may be able to get it here, here, and the cue ball is going to be down here, leaving opponent tough. So you could get a full snooker, or you could get a really tough shot on your opponent. So what I'm going to do here is just pick a spot that I would like the 7 ball to hit. So I'm going to pick about first diamond or a little in front of the first diamond, because I want it to go behind the cluster. And I'm going to be focusing on using the spin to use the spin to get the cue ball to come around the reel. So I would like to be around here or in this area here. All right, let's see. So I'll pick my spot and I'm about to play the shot. It's a tough one, but it's one to consider. So I'm going to be using about 2 tips of right spin here, focusing on the cue ball coming around the angles. Well, I didn't expect to make that shot. That is actually a shot that I'm going to explain to you in my attacking options. But here you can see, I would have actually called a safety. So in 10 ball, my opponent would actually get a shot on the 8 here for a run out. So that's not definitely what I wanted to do. But let's have a look at the actual safety. All right, guys, so here we go. Fortunate for me, I was able to make the 7. That was a tough cut. Let's focus on the safety here. And that is my second attempt at trying to play the safety. The first time, I was fortunate to get the 7 in the pocket, but I didn't call it. But here, as I mentioned to you before, you may sometimes overcut the ball slightly because of a roll off or too much spin. So it throws the left spin throws the ball to the right. The intention was to actually hit the short rail here and come behind the cluster. But this is also a very good containment. Your opponent has a severe kick shot, which could seriously hurt you if they do make the kick shot, but it's not guaranteed. So this is also a very good safety option. Let's try to actually do now the one that we intend on doing, which is actually trying to get the 7 to hit the short rail first. Here we go. So the left spin is applying right spin to the object ball. So we're just going to be playing this a little bit thicker. Remember to get the cue ball to go around the angles. That's the short rail. A little bit risky. It's not safe. It's definitely a sellout. But the whole idea, guys, and I hope you see the route, is to catch the short rail, come in behind the cluster here for a safety. Alright, so it's tough, but it's one to consider. And there we go. Perfect shot, perfect safety, perfect intent, perfect execution. All right. So guys, those are my 4 safety options that I saw that you could have played in this scenario here. Go on the practice table, give it some tries, get a feel for the shot, get a feel for the speed for the table. And of course, you never know, your opponent could be surprised. And of course, you could definitely take your win on a situation like this. All right, let's get into segment number 2 now, where we're going to be looking at the attacking option. All right, guys. So now for the players that are extremely attacking, and of course, we're looking at running out. So for the attacking players, when this was first posted, a few players gave me some options like cutting the 7 and trying to break out the 8, and that's the first attacking option I'm going to share with you. Now, when you make the 7, the distance of the cue ball to the object ball is tough, especially on a 9-foot table. On an 8-foot table, maybe a little bit nearer. But when you make the 7, you have no idea where that 8 is going to end up. You may try to break it out soft and you get snookered behind the 9. You may break it out hard and the 8 ends up in an area that is not pocketable. And you may even break it out and the 8 ends up into an area that you can run the table. So for me, this attacking options here spells a lot of danger. And I personally don't like this option, but you have to consider the percentages when you're playing high level pool. You can't just attack because you feel the need to attack. You have to attack with a certain level of assurance and certainty. So yes, this is a good shot to be played. Let us try to execute the shot and see what we come up with in a couple of tries. All right, so let's see here. So I'm just gonna first go at it hard, and then I'm gonna try to go at it at medium speed. At hard speed, if you hit the cue ball very hard, it will have more deflection. So you cannot overhit, you just have to hit it hard enough to go around the angles. You have to use a bit of a quarter tip of spin to get it to kick the 8 out. Now I don't like this shot because the 8 is already makeable. So I could perhaps get the 8 into more problems than it already is. But nevertheless, it's an option to consider. So let's try to execute this shot here. It's a tough shot, very difficult. Let's see if we can get this cue ball to break out the 8. Unfortunate for us here, after pocketing the 7, this is just one of the layouts that occurred. I have a shot on the 8, and I perhaps should be able to get onto the 9 to run the rack out. Now this is a good breakout. It may not always work out like this, but of course, as you've seen, you can see where other things can go wrong. I'm going to post clippings of shots that I've missed or attempts that I've made at trying to pocket the 7. It could spell disaster. This is just one of the fortunate times that I landed on the 8 nicely to get onto the 9. Let's see if we can perhaps run this rack here. So I'm heading into the 10. I have to try to avoid the 10 a little bit. Very fortunate here. So many bad things can happen here, guys. So many bad things. So now I'm not on the 10. Several things can happen, guys, with this breakout if you do not land nicely on the 8 for an easy run out. Let's see if you can get a bit fortunate here and kick this 10 in. So fortunate here, guys, that in the run out or in the attempt to run out, I played the 8 ball a little bit bad, got fortunate on the 9, played the 9, didn't get enough draw, landed badly on the 10. Lucky thing I have some kicking skills. I was able to kick that 10 ball 2 reels into the corner for the out. Like I said, guys, it's an option to consider. Very tough, very doable, but again, it doesn't really depend on the type of player you are. It has to do with the percentage of the out. All right, so that is option number 5. Let's have a look at option number 6. All right, guys, and so for the final option here that I'm going to show you in this video is, of course, attacking option number 2, which is basically cutting the 7 ball to the left here and just coming 1 reels here for a short side on the 8. Very tough shot again, but very doable, and your nerves have to be nerves made from steel. So let's have a look at this option here. Let's play with a little bit of inside spin here, just a little bit. Nice rolling speed. Obviously, I did not want to touch the 8 or the 9 here. I wanted to come just slightly in front, so just using that inside spin would allow that to happen. But here I am on the 8 with a tough shot either to this direction or to this direction here. And of course, We never know what can happen. So this was a very nice scenario, guys, for us to consider. I'm going to be placing some clippings at the end of the video for you to see other options that you can consider. But in my views, I believe that the safety, any one of the 4 safety options, is more advantageous to you as a player than the attacking option. And that's just my opinion. Alright? So hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying tuned. Hope you learned a lot. Consider dropping a like on the video, sharing, subscribing of course, and let's add some more power to our game so we can surprise more opponents and win more racks. Do take care until next time. This is Apex Selenium signing out from the Apex Predator Billiards Club. Goodbye.